And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at the Fire of Eidolon, or however you pronounce this. This box here, of course, looks like a Super Nintendo cartridge. That is not an accident at all. This is a fully cooperative game in which you are, let me look at this box here. Let me see what the story is on the back of the box. Yeah. The Fire of Eidolon was stolen by some cultists who want to free the Dark Sorcerer Vorax, and we need to stop them by basically going into a dungeon in the darkness of time and space and stopping him. It's a cooperative game in which you take a group of heroes and you are trying to go pick up things and get them to the right spots before time runs out. Here's how it plays. You'll do is you're going to pick the level that you're going to play. You can play beginner, or you can play normal, or you can play hard, or you can play very hard, or you can play extreme, or you can play heroic, or you can play nightmare, or you can play legendary. All right, these really are pretty much the same. Just the number of cards you draw each turn is going to change. So if I'm playing on beginner, I'm going to put this token here, starting it at the bottom, and I'm going to be drawing one card, then two, then three, all the way up, and you'll lose if it gets to the top. Now, each player is going to pick a character. Now, these characters are definitely not rip-offs of Nintendo types. This Carver is definitely not Link. Amelia, Daga is definitely not from a video game. Avalok, I'm not even sure how to pronounce that one. Cirrus is definitely not some sort of cloud. Cecilia, Kaylana, Alfric. Each of these characters has a certain number of action points that they can use per turn, and they have stats here, strength, dexterity, and intelligence, which are going to go from 1 to 3. They each have a special ability that they can use all the time, or once per turn anyway, and then they have some that can be used once per game or twice per game, etc. Some are passive. It just means it's an automatic special ability you have. Over here, it just shows you the different special ability, the different actions you can take on your turn. So one thing you can do on your turn is you can explore. Everyone's going to start in the vestibule, so I might explore. So I would connect this room to this room, and I move my character through here. Well, that looks like a bad guy. I probably shouldn't be using them. Move this character through here. And this room shows a green key, so I'd place a green key in this room. Now, I need these green keys because eventually I'm going to find 3 rooms. These 3 rooms are in the deck somewhere. Vorax Focus, Vorax Knowledge, and Vorax Heart. All 3 of these things need to be destroyed. When I get to Vorax Knowledge, I need to have 6 of these green keys to take his knowledge and destroy that rupee. So how do I get 6 of them? Well, I can pick them up. When you pick them up, it's going to cost you action points based on how difficult it is for you to pick them up. So this guy here has 3, so it's only 1 action point for him to pick up a green, while for her, it's 3 action points to pick up a green. You can also hand one off to someone who's in the same spot as you for 1 action point, so other people can pick them up, and you're going to need to do that. There's only 7 tiles with the key tokens on them, so you're going to need, and you need 6 of them to take out the focus. Once all 3 of these are taken out, you want to find this room somewhere in the pile, the Fire of Eidolon. Go there, grab the Fire of Eidolon, and then get back to the vestibule. Well, that seems pretty easy, but here's what makes the game harder. As more and more of these tiles come out and you're connecting them, you also have to follow doors. So you'll notice that some of these are going to be harder to connect to the game, like this focus here. We'll put that here. As time goes by, you're going to have a harder time connecting the rooms. But after every player's turn, after they've taken their different actions that they can take, and by the way, you can move from one room to another room, or you can explore new rooms, trade tokens, you can attack a cultist, basically get rid of a cultist. There's going to be little cultists around. You can get rid of those. You can just pass, which doesn't make any sense. And then sometimes there's other things that you can do. You'll draw a card. When you draw a card, here's Mind Eater. I look, is Mind Eater out there? No, it's not. If I draw a card that matches one that's out there now. So let's say I draw, what is out there now? This is the Floating Stone. So if I draw the Floating Stone card, so I go through here and wherever the Floating Stone card is, if that one gets drawn, I put a cultist in it. No big deal. But remember the deck, once you're done going through all the cards in the deck, you'll shuffle it and draw more cards. If you put another cultist in Floating Stones, then this room is gone, which could cut off passageways. If there's still tiles left, you can explore, but you better have picked up the token off of that room. And it can, as time goes by, you're going to go through deck faster and faster because every time a room is destroyed, that card and tile are out. So you might have a very thin deck by the end of it. And also you start going through faster and faster. Even on a beginner one, after a while, you're drawing 3 cards every round, every person's turn. So players are going to have to use their turns quickly to go around, gather up the different things, go and break these curses, go get the fire, then get the fire back here, and everybody needs to get back to the entrance. When that happens, you win. There are also scenarios that you can play that will add other challenges: the Unstable Void, the Shades of Vorax, Invasion of the Shadowcat, Vagrant Portal, and there are other ways to make the game harder. Some of these characters are considered advanced, and so you shouldn't use them in a basic game. I mean, some of them are much like, this guy's really easy to use. He has a boomerang. He can blow up walls and have, cracks in the walls. She can put a blessing token out on the board, and that can stop cultists from coming through. If your chamber matches the ritual chamber in a discard pile, you put the ritual card in the void. So there's ways. She's like a protection person. Then a Soul Thirst. This guy goes around and kills cultists and uses them for action points later on. So there's all sorts of different characters that you can use. And that's pretty much how you play. Okay, so let's talk about theme first. This game is obviously a ripoff of Nintendo. A ripoff is maybe a harsh word, but it is artwork, that has 8-bit or 16-bit. In fact, it's really weird because the little figures you move are different than the ones on the card, which is kind of odd. And these are really pixelated. The ones on the card are less pixelated than on the front of the book here. They're drawn. And again, I get it. That's the way the the cartridges were. But I think we're over this pixelated thing. I'm getting a little tired of seeing this pixelated stuff over and over and over and over again. But be that as it may, so let's pretend that's not a problem. It's still, the graphic design here is really bad. Those hero cards, they have so much information on them. It's really hard to read. I just found it to be an overload of information. So they kind of stole the theme or parodied Nintendo. But they also kind of took the game too. When you play this game, you're like, this seems awfully familiar. It is. There's really not a lot of new and interesting things here. This is just taking a bunch of different co-op game tropes, specifically Forbidden Island from Matt Leacock, because Forbidden Island has this island and you're trying to go get stuff, get back and get off the island, get to the helicopter and get off the island before the island tiles sink. Here the cultists are coming in and casting some sort of ceremony that gets rid of the tile. It's sinking, getting wrong. So they feel very similar. Now the Forbidden Island is for kids. This one is definitely harder. Even on easy level, this one is not automatically winnable. It's not. And on these harder levels, I'm not even sure if it's winnable at all. The characters also have very unique powers, and they have that once per game power. And again, there's a couple niggling graphic design problems with the game. For example, you have 1, 2, or 3 stars. So if you have 3 stars in strength, that means you can pick up the red tokens for 1. So if you see 3 stars, that means it costs you 1 action to pick it up. If you have 1 star, that means it costs you 3 actions to pick it up. That is not intuitive. I know that it makes sense. 3 stars is better than 1 star, but I think there could have been a better way that they could have put that down. So now I'm doing a little bit of complaining here about the characters, but I will say some good things. There's a lot of different characters with a lot of powers, so you have a lot of variety there. The game is fun. It definitely has a time sense to it. You go through the deck, you're like, oh, this isn't so bad. Second time through the deck, you're like, hey, this is getting worse. And then as your time's running out, you're like, oh my goodness, we need to get out of here. We need to figure out the path. When we built this thing, when we explored, we weren't thinking smart. And we put this, the chamber is way away from the vestibule where we came in. So you need to think about those things. And it's a full-blown co-op, no traders, nothing else. And then if that's not good enough for you, then there are scenarios. So that stuff is good. They put a lot of stuff in the box. So my cons are how it looks and the graphic design. I'm not a big fan of that, and it's not very original. It's just like, hey, you like Nintendo? You'll like this game. Well, I like Nintendo a lot, but that doesn't necessarily mean I like this game. But the game is a solid co-op. Nothing new, nothing intuitive, but it works, and it has some interesting ideas, and I think people who like fantasy might like this one better than, say, Forbidden Island or Forbidden Desert. Again, both of those seem to be very similar to this. So anyway, that's Fire of Eidolon. You tired of playing Zelda Breath of the Wild? This is kind of like, no, it's not like that at all. But it does have a kind of Zelda guy in it. Dice Tower Judgment, approved, but could have been better.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!